What is going on YouTube? In today's episode of Rad Dad Life, we're going to be going over my Fox Factory DHX2 rear coil shock. Bottom line, spoilers alert, I love it.
Just let me fall to my groove. Just let me fall to my groove.
Welcome back. So initially, the first upgrade I get to this bike, I do believe, was the Cascade links, which adds 6 millimeters of length to my rear chainstay, which kind of, I guess, reduces the purpose of the molded bike. Obviously, it's a shorter chainstay, allows you to pop wheelies more. Honestly, I noticed it just a tad bit on my wheelies and the rear end kind of tracking, but on the plus side, it did extend the wheelbase, so descending actually became a little bit more comfortable. Like I said, both of those are very minor and I can notice them just a little bit. I noticed a little bit more stability on the downhills and not as easy to pop up wheelies from obviously adding 6 millimeters, which is very minimal, but I did notice just a tad bit on either side, the pros and cons obviously. I did go with the 405 by 5, the 405 by 5, no, the 400 by 5 on the progressive coil. I did ask around. I got this from Losco. It's just an online bike shop. They're great. I told them my weight. I told them what kind of riding style I did. Take big drops, not the best form. Could use the most support that I could possibly get. And they actually recommended it. I went to another shop. I think it was Worldwide Cyclery or Jensen USA. Honestly, I think I emailed all of them, asked them all the same questions, and they all told me the exact same shock to get, which is really comforting for me, because if I have 3 different people, all 3 different companies telling me the same shock, that's reassuring to someone like me who doesn't know very much about shocks and weight. MRP, the progressive spring, which means the coils are more wrapped tight. The coils are wrapped tighter near the end, so it gives you almost like an air-like feel, rather than it being completely linear, because obviously a coil, they compress and they're unbiased of how much pressure you put onto it. When you have the coils stacked closer together, you obviously have a little bit higher strength, meaning when you're getting closer to collapsing the coil all the way, you're gonna have a little bit more resistance. That's just gonna give you a little bit more of a ramp up, which gives you more of an air shock like feel. But I do feel significantly more planted. This thing has phenomenal traction. I do notice on the same thing, I do have to work just a little bit harder to jump the bike bunny hop. It does weigh a little bit more. We'll get the weight here in a little bit, but overall, I love the bike. I did go with the climb switch. The first day I put it on, I think 3 days later, I had my very first enduro race here at Vail Lake. And without actually riding the bike on the coil, I had put it on. I didn't have time to actually race the bike besides, going around my little neighborhood here. And I committed to it. It does have a climb switch, so obviously climbing for enduro races was an absolute breeze. It does have VPP suspension, so it has a great pedal platform. And the pedal bob is not too bad. Even when I put down power, I don't feel as much bob as I would in my
That coil shock actually doesn't feel as springy as I first thought. On race day, I didn't actually give it a chance. I just went straight to the firm mode, but I have it open right now and it still has a really good pedal platform. So kudos to that VPP suspension.
As far as tunability, it does have all the adjustments, the high and low compression, the high and low rebound. It has all that stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of adjustability. Honestly, I was trying to go for the Marzuki coil. It was completely out of stock, so I said, why not go with the best? The suspension settings that I have on there do feel good. I haven't really tampered them with too much, But the huge benefit that I love about this is I'm a kind of set it and forget it kind of rider. I don't check my air as often as I should, or my sag as often as I should. So having a coil, it's fantastic. I lube it, I clean it just like you're supposed to, but knowing that as long as my body weight stays relatively the same, my suspension in the rear will be the same. And that's what I really, really love. I love that simplicity of that coil, along with its increased, traction feel. I did feel the increase in weight. I will show you guys overall. Everything else on the bike is pretty stock. Here's that rear shock. I did ask them, I'm like, hey, there's a lot of, I'm almost out of tensioning on the spring. Is that normal? They said, yeah, as long as you still have a little bit left and as long as the coil is like how it's supposed to be, not much give. You just listen to the instructions on there, and it says to, once you get it nice and snug, go 2 more rotations or 2 more clicks, and that's good to go. Here's my Cascade links. I do have it in the LT setting, meaning the long travel setting, which gives me 170 in the rear. So now I have 160 and 170 with the rear coil. So I do feel that bottomless like feeling when I do ride this shock, when I take harsh jumps or drops or just smash down. I do feel like it does feel bottomless. I know that's a dumb, and everyone says like, oh, bottomless is such a vague term, but I honestly do feel that bottomless suspension. I know I've maxed it out because I've taken drops way harsher or with poor technique, and it still feels pretty comforting. So I'll show you guys a video right now. I take a huge step up. It's like I'd say like 10 feet. A lot of speed to compensate for my lack of technique back in the day, and I land super hard. The coil gets completely maxed out, and my feet actually come off the pedals. But as far as like getting bucked off, which I have done in the past, that same style of jump that I did, I've had pogo stick myself up off the seat because obviously I ramped up so hard that pressure got sent back through my body. Where this one, it took it like a champ, and then yeah, my feet came off the pedals, but overall, like it took that hit super well, which I'm really impressed with, and I really love about that. This does obviously go into the short setting, which gives me 160 travel in the rear, but I said, why not? I believe the chainstay is increased by 6 millimeters regardless of the short or long travel setting, so why not go with the long travel setting and give me 170 suspension. You actually could go long travel setting and actually put a bigger shock that will give you 180, and that's a monster. So I do call this the Santa Cruz Bromad, because obviously it's, well, now the day of this video came out, the new Nomads are actually mullet, and I believe they're 170, 180. I think they're 170. But when I first did this, the Nomads were just the old versions that were just 27.5s front and rear. So I made what is now the Nomad. I have the same amount of suspension. I believe that bike's just a little bit bigger wheelbase and a little bit bigger reach. But overall, this is my Bromad. It's pretty sweet. All right, so let's get this thing weighed in. Okay. So we're at 32.4 pounds. That is not bad. It is a size small frame. It does have a coil shock. It does have the Cascade links. I do want to get carbon. My next update is going to be carbon wheel set, probably by Spoke X, because they're local and I love supporting local businesses. That will help bring the weight down. Also, just go with the lifetime warranty of the frame, have lifetime warranty on the rims. That just sounds very comforting for me. So if you guys have any questions about how the bike rides with the long travel setting, how the coil really feels, how anything really about the bike or about my Santa Cruz Bronson or my Santa Cruz Bromad, to be correct. If you guys have any questions about that, any questions about the rear coil, the factory Fox DHX2, did I say that right? DHX2, I did say it right. If you have any questions about that, leave them in the comments. I do read them all, I do reply to them all. And as always, just have a rad day. Oh, send it.